Please repeat after me. I, Akbar Mukarram, having been appointed to the position of Supreme Captain of the Lost Foundation of Islam, by Almighty God Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad,
It's taught to us by Almighty God Allah, who came to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad,
to whom praises are due forever.
to whom praises are due forever.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, our spiritual mother, Mary of the Book,
Honorable Elijah Muhammad, our spiritual mother, Mary of the Book,
peace be upon him,
peace be upon him,
and their spiritual son,
and their spiritual son,
my Lord, Savior, and Chief Commander, the Honorable Silis Muhammad.
my Lord, Savior, and Chief Commander, the Honorable Silis Muhammad,
And in recognition of her grace, Queen Mashaki Muhammad,
and in recognition of her grace, Queen Mashaki Muhammad,
from all enemies, foreign and domestic,
from all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will protect and secure the Chief Executive Officer of the Lost Foundation of Islam,
that I will protect the Chief Executive Officer of the Lost Foundation of Islam,
and dutifully obey and carry out all orders of the same,
and dutifully carry out all orders of the same,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion.
that I take this
Obligation freely
obligation freely
without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion.
without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion,
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office which I am about to enter.
and that I will and faithfully discharge the duties of the office that I am about to enter.
But brothers and sisters, I want you to know that if you want to really know who the human rights expert is, the human rights champion, the only thing you got to do is go to the High Commissioner's website. United Nations High Commissioner's website. Type in the name Silis Muhammad, and his interventions will pop up. I tried other leaders. Nothing came up. I tried other leaders. Nothing came up. I tried other leaders. Nothing came up. I say, he's the man. There's no doubt that he is our human rights expert. I have a letter from the High Commission office where they invited him to participate in one of the workshops. And they said words to the effect, in view of your knowledge, expertise, and practical experience on Afro-descended issues, the Working Group on Minorities has the pleasure of inviting you to participate in this workshop. We are convinced that your contribution to the deliberation will prove invaluable to the other participants and the members of the working group.
Yes, sir.
Brothers and sisters, the moment has come. Let me say these last few words about the Honorable Silis Muhammad, the Chief Executive Officer of the Lost Foundation of Islam. He is a man who has shown his undying love for Master Farad Muhammad. the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and Afro-descendants in America, and the 250 million of us throughout the diaspora. He is a man who is a good counselor, a man who is worthy of trust. That's right. A man who has an undying love for truth and justice. Yes, sir. No doubt. A man who is unafraid to live his conviction. That's right. A man who is steadfast and resolute. Yes, sir. A man with vision who is very wise. Yes, sir. No doubt. Silis Muhammad is a man that believes in the sacred principle of brotherhood. Yes, sir. A man whose destiny is to fulfill the work of his father. Right. Yes, sir. Silis Muhammad is a man of commitment and integrity. Yes, sir. A man who is meek and humble. Yes, sir. A man who is merciful, reasonable, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And full of understanding. No doubt. No doubt. He is a man who is meek, caring, and loving. Silis Muhammad is a man who has an unshakable spirit. That's right. Silis Muhammad is a man whose passion is reparation. That's right. Silis Muhammad is that man who never wavered in his belief. That's right. That's right. Silis Muhammad is that man that taught us to question the lie until it died.
I'm talking 1930. He'll give you $5 or $10 for each lesson that you read and recited back to him. What kind of man would do that? When the Honorable Elijah Muhammad met him, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, just did not meet him. His wife, Sister Clara Muhammad, met Master Farad Muhammad first. And she came back home and she told the Honorable Elijah Pooh, there's a man here in Detroit teaching black people, and he sounds just like you. How did he sound? What was he saying to Sister Clara? What was he saying to his wife at night or at dinner, supper, breakfast? For her to detect that this man, Master Farad Muhammad, sounded just like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So, upon hearing those words, at age 38 or 39, or nearly going into his 40s, and now a drunkard, one who drinks whiskey, is somewhere down the line he had given up on seeing God. Are you with me? Yes, sir. And had become a drunkard, since no man had come saying he's God, Allah. Honorable Elijah Muhammad probably thought he was going crazy. I'll get drunk and ain't no God coming. I ain't gonna believe in that stuff. Sister Clara Muhammad, here's a man, he sounds just like him. Elijah Pooh went out to meet the man. And once he heard the man teach, he went up to the man. And he asked, "Who are you?" The man told him. He said, no, what is your real name? Elijah Muhammad was questioning this man. No, what is your real name? The man bent down and whispered in his ear, I am the Mahdi to the Muslim world. I am Christ to this Christian world. But don't tell anyone until I'm gone. At that point in time, a bond raised high and blended between two men. Elijah Muhammad had found a man, a real man, who admits that he's God. He didn't find a spook. He wanted to know, are you real? Are you really a man? They hooked up. Now, excuse me, I know what it is to hook up with a man. Wali Bahar is here. I hooked up with my brother, Wali Bahar, over 58 years ago. I still love him today. So I know what it is when two men hook up. I'm not talking what I alone believe. I'm talking what we know. Two men whose hearts, whose spirit, whose persons blended so well together that one, Elijah Poole, followed this man for 3.5 years, draining all the knowledge that he could absorb from this one man. Who is this one man? I'm going to rest a bit. We need to get the scripture out. Turn to where it says, as the light shineth from the east.
Chapter 27. Matthew 24:7.
Read.
Whereas the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
Son of Man be. A man came, not a spook, not Allah God, a man.
Yes, sir.
Understand that. A flesh and blood man came saying, I alone am God.
Yes, sir.
And another man from America believed him and stood up and built a nation of Islam off of his back,
Yes, sir.
expressing his belief. Did you see the example of Elijah Muhammad?
Yes, sir.
Belief in a man. Not belief in a spirit, belief in a spook, belief in a man. He built the lost foundation of Islam. He performed an operation on your mind. Since we are a religious people, we developed in a spiritual womb in the religion of Islam. But we thought we were building a nation that would not ever fall. We thought it failed. Because why? Because you were not ready yet to be born. Do you remember me?
Yes, sir.
I decided to keep building.
Yes, sir.
I participated from time to time in grave habits. That's me. That's also you too. And on the world UN Human Rights stage in Durban, South Africa, I participated. Read Holy Quran, brother. Chapter 22, verse 22, start out at 5.
O people, if you are in doubt about the resurrection,
If you are endowed about reconnecting to what you once were, resurrection,
then surely we created you from dust, then from a small life germ, then from a clot, then from a lump of flesh, complete in make and incomplete, that we may make clear to you, and we cause what we please to remain in the wombs till in appointed time. Then we bring you forth as babies, then that you may attain your maturity. And of you is he. And of you is he who is caused to die. And of you is he who is brought back to the worst part of life, so that after knowledge he knows nothing, and thou seest the earth barren. But when we send down rain, yes, sir, it stirs, it swells, and bring forth a beautiful garden. Yes, sir.
very kind. So it's raining now. Earth is stirring. Can you feel it? You are reconnecting to what you were, or to what you are, or to what you is. and bring forth a beautiful garden of every kind. Not the nation of Islam, of every kind. The nation of Islam, Hebrew Israelites, Noble Drew Orleans, Marcus Garvey, NAACP, SNCC, the 12th movement, and don't forget Dr. Clyde. Dr. Clyde is a man who reminded me that I am a human being. Yeah, it took Dr. Clyde's common sense and wisdom to remind me that I'm just a human being. That out in the United Nations, there is a human rights law. And that if I wanted reparations for you, which I do, I should go out into the United Nations and argue your case out there. Not to the American government. The American government has switcheroo on you rather than planning his seat of government in Washington, D.C. He put it in Geneva, Switzerland. Human rights. Dr. Clyde also deserves a whole heap of credit, a whole heap of praise, and history should record him as being the person who came back to Atlanta, Georgia, and sat down with me and helped me to draft out the Constitution for the Afro-descendant nation. At this point in time, I call our Queen, Silis Muhammad. Will you come?
These are excerpts taken from Ida Hakim's memoirs. Ida Hakim was a Caucasian woman that went with us on many of our trips to the United Nations, helped us in tremendous ways. And she was an observer, and she's writing these comments as an observer, one that was with us on the spot. And I want you to listen to how she, as a Caucasian, connects all of these thoughts together that she was getting from different interventions that were made over the years. The Rod of Moses. In August of 1999, Silis Muhammad delivered his 5th oral statement to the United Nations. To my watchful eyes, the 5 statements he delivered Okay. In 1998 and 1999, he may have achieved something we have seen described within the scriptures and portrayed in the movies. I offer the following story, not as a theologian interpreting scriptures, but as a humble witness. You be the judge as to whether we are living within a time when prophecy and reality meet. Millions of people have watched the movie, The Ten Commandments. It shows us Yul Brynner as Pharaoh and Charlton Heston as Moses, meeting in the house of Pharaoh. On one occasion, they throw down their rods. It shows us their rods turning into snakes, and the rod of Moses devouring the rod of Pharaoh. The scripture gives us an even more difficult to understand, but noticeably similar picture. The confrontation of Moses and Pharaoh is an exciting scriptural story. But there is much that we are sure is symbolic, and we wonder what some of it could possibly mean. In particular, the rods turning into snakes. This kind of magic doesn't happen in reality. So what is the rod of Moses? At the UN subcommission meeting in August, I saw something devour something, and it triggers in me thoughts of this scriptural story. Upon returning home, I started revealing my thoughts to a friend. I said to her, they threw the idea at him, and he just took their idea and ate it up and threw it back at them. It was like Moses throwing down his rod, and his rod ate up their rod. She became excited while listening to me. I'm not a Bible reader, she said, but I did see the movie. Because of her urging, I'd like to try to unfold for you some moments of the story of Moses and Pharaoh as viewed from my eyes. I have observed the delivery of 5 highly polished interventions of Silis Muhammad before the United Nations. I am a Caucasian, and one might say that I am of Pharaoh's house. If Pharaoh can be defined as the ruling family of the earth, then that is my family, and I am a daughter of Pharaoh. If any daughter of Pharaoh could hear and see Moses in the water, as the scriptural daughter of Pharaoh heard the cry of the baby Moses, it would be me. I believe in the God of the slave descendants. I can hear their cry. When I walk the halls of the United Nations at Geneva, it feels like I belong there. It even has a distinctive smell like a house. This is the house that attempts to govern the world. It is indeed Pharaoh's house. Within this house, experts attempt to define the highest ideals in government and put their ideals into law. They want to do this so that they can continue their rulership in the earth. The ideals that they define and press upon nations are called human rights. These human rights and the path of rulership that they create into the future could be called Pharaoh's rods. Think about it. I brought Silis Muhammad into Pharaoh's house in 1998. I had obtained consultative status with the UN for my organization, an organization that Silis Muhammad had inspired. Through that status, I was able to gain admission and the opportunity for a representative to speak. Silis Muhammad brought with him his wife, Mashaki, who is, like him, a slave descendant. He spoke before the experts during that journey, and his prayer was all for all of his people. His concern was that avenues for recognition of their rights could not be found anywhere in the law. Apparently, as a people, they were not even recognized as existing. When the experts confirmed that he was right, Silis Muhammad was grieved in the essence of his being. His people were indeed lost from the eyes of the entire world. The lost foundation of Islam is a government brought to the slave descendants by a man whose love for them was the life-giving love of a father. This man, Master Farad Muhammad, placed the idea of a government in the mind of another man whose love for the slave descendants was the nourishing love of a mother. This father and mother had already taught the children, the slave descendants, that they were a lost people. Now in Pharaoh's house, Silis Muhammad was finding out just what was meant by lost. In his first intervention, he talked about his spiritual mother. He said that the late Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught members of the lost foundation of Islam to reclaim their human rights. Now in Pharaoh's house, he was finding out that his mother and father had laid a path for him even more encompassing than he had realized. This path was his rod. At the second meeting, Silis Muhammad told the experts that America's slave descendants remain a lost people. He told them that they have no knowledge of their original culture, religion, or language. He asked for a UN forum where the slave descendants could meet and be protected while they made decisions regarding their human rights, and where they could define themselves as a people among peoples of the earth. He reminded them of their desire for peace, and he asked, will the UN persuade her, America, to let my people go? After the second meeting, the experts in the group passed a resolution telling the experts in the first group to place the issue of the legacies of slavery on their agenda. It seems that the heart of Pharaoh was softened just a little. The third meeting was with a different, more powerful group. Before this group, Silis Muhammad stated that the United States had committed fraud against the United Nations. He said that in order to keep the slave descendants captive, the framework of protected human rights for everyone, everywhere, the very rod of Pharaoh, had been violated. He challenged the UN to act and grant a forum for the slave descendants so that they could be protected while rebuilding a council or governing body amongst themselves. Although they paused in silence while Silis Muhammad spoke, the third, more powerful group acted as if they hadn't heard this man challenging them to their very core. The fourth meeting was with the original group of experts. Now they were prepared to listen, as the issue of the legacies of plantation slavery was on their agenda. Silis Muhammad was prepared also to give them something they had never heard before. From his spiritual mother and father that the slave descendants are dead in need of resurrection. He looked at the UN acting as protector when minorities were being killed. It appeared that human rights laws would only be enforced when they protect the physical existence of peoples. He said, is not our struggle for human dignity equally as important as groups fighting for their human life? To be alive with the knowledge that I am a man dead is worse than physical death. Death of the physical body sets you free. Death of the human spirit is a living hell. This was the first time UN experts had heard a slave descendant argue that the life of the human spirits is as deserving of protection as the life of the physical body. Within this idea, the rod of Moses challenged the rod of Pharaoh. The experts have already stated that minorities have the right to speak their own original language, their mother tongue, and they have the right to protect their own religion. This protection was the essence of their declaration on the right of minorities. After hearing Silis Muhammad, one of the experts further clarified the meaning of their law by pointing out the importance of the right to be educated in the mother tongue. The protection of the rights of minorities was their right, and until Silis Muhammad appeared, they were quite proud of their achievement and convinced that it was a means for keeping the peace and preserving physical life in the earth while maintaining their rulership. They thanked Silis Muhammad for coming, and they appeared to be considering what he had said. Shortly after Silis Muhammad returned home, he began preparing for his 5th journey. He read the writings of the UN experts on education, and he heard them assert that language, but not just any language, one's mother tongue is intimately bound with identity. He knew that mother tongue is the key to the collective identity of a people. This much is evident in that the very spirit of a people is infused through their dialogue with each other. In thinking about the mother tongue, the words of the spiritual mother once again rang true. You are deaf, dumb, and blind, Elijah Muhammad would say to the slave descendant. In Pharaoh's house, the slave descendants are deaf and they cannot hear their mother tongue. They are dumb in that they cannot speak it, and they are blind in that they cannot read it. At the 5th meeting, Silis Muhammad was calm inside when he said, "We charge civil death." He quoted the experts when they said education plays a fundamental role in the formation of personal identity. Thus, the right to education is an identity right. Then he went on to say, owing to plantation slavery, intercultural education is an impossibility for us. By forcibly depriving us of our mother tongue, the government of the United States deracinated our collective identity, making our condition irreversible. Absent knowledge of our mother tongue, how could we and can we speak it with other members of our community and preserve our individual identity? The annihilation of our mother tongue is the extermination of our identity. Absent our identity, we do not have our own culture. Absent culture, we are in a state of civil death. To destroy a people and their shared life is a crime. To my eyes, he had taken the rod of Pharaoh and had eaten it up. The rod of Moses, given him by his spiritual mother and his spiritual father, was sufficient to bring him through the confrontation. Thus, the greatness of Master Fraud Muhammad and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was proved, as was the wisdom of the prophets when they wrote, that Moses would carry a powerful rod. Today's scriptural prophecy is reality because of the deeds of Silis Muhammad, the humble representative of the slave children. 1 month after the 5th meeting, it appears that the UN has passed no resolution to assist the slave descendants. Apparently, Pharaoh's heart is again hardened. Silis Muhammad plans to keep going to the United Nations, and we who witnessed this story expect to see him lift up the rod of Moses.
We need to keep going. In other words, we gotta get out of this place. In respect of the time, we do not have three days to be here. In fact, I got to run through this. We're talking about 250 million people when we include Brazil of Afro-descendants. I have thought to show you the reality between you and Scripture. If you can see that, ethnogenesis is taking place, or the resurrection is taking place. And with that thought, I will close out and bring up Prince Asiel, Prince of the Hebrew Israelites.
Assalamu alaikum. You, my family, you, my friends, you, my fellow workers, in the vineyard of our God, on behalf of his people, and to nourish the earth again with the spirit of the living God, do I humbly come before you in acknowledgement of the great work that the CEO of the Lost Foundation, Silis Muhammad, has done on behalf of God's people on the planet. Let us please give him a round of applause. For the Queen, I think for those who was at the last forum that we held, I told you that more than 12 years ago I had an epiphany of the confession of Adam, excuse me, and the acquittal of Eve. And in that, I saw Genesis 1:26, where most of us just read that he made man in his image, but we don't completely read it. And he said he made them both male and female. If there's a king, there must be a queen. To our queen. Not only did she go to law school for her husband, but she went to law school for me, because I stopped going to law school to go across the water and do the work of our spiritual mother, the messenger, to do the international groundwork that he had to go into the laboratory of the UN and the World Court to complete and I was that field hand that went there. You were blessed to go into the house and work. I'm so honored to be here. Yes, sir. We're not lost anymore. We're the foundation of Islam and Allah. So we can drop the lost. We ain't lost no more. You see, we got to understand something. The time has shifted. When you stepped up to your sonhood from your mother, father, and took your rightful place, it wasn't based on genetics. It was ethnogenesis birth that took place. That's the virgin birth. You got to understand this. If you want to know the Immaculate Conception, you're looking at it. Yes, sir. This is no small gathering here. When two or more gathered in his name, he joins it. He says, if I'm with you, it don't matter who's against you. Thank you for taking the rod of Moses back into Pharaoh's house. You great believers, it looked like you were making the wrong move. You were the true seeds that have been planted to produce the real fruit now. You're the fruit of Islam. You are the women and the men who will become the kings and queens of righteousness. Yes, sir. You great women, we want you to know she's just a symbol of who you are. All of you are sitting up here with her. And let me say to the great men of the foundation of Islam, not the lost. You were lost. As the Holy Spirit would say, but now I'm found. Looked at my hands was new. Looked at my feet and they were too. I'm looking at the new people. The first resurrection. You are the first ones. Took him 12 days to go down to American possession. He still haven't done anything in the American Virgin Islands. The British have still got the people suffering down there. But you are the hope for all of the earth now. The found people of God is getting ready to lift up the planet again. When we went back to Jerusalem, where the prophet, peace be upon him, went from Mecca and Medina to ascend back into the heavens with Allah, we came there 1 month after Dr. King said God had blessed him to go to the mountaintop and look over and see the promised land. He said, I may not get there with you, but we as a people will get to the promised land. Well, I'm telling you right now, you're in the promised land. Because we have prayed in the mosque. We prayed at the Dome of the Rock. And right now, we're right here resurrecting you. So I just wanted to begin tonight to just share with you. From this moment on, you'll know that we're one people. And I intend to put my hat in the ring. And ask for your support with me and Mr. Muhammad to continue the great work of the foundation of the African descendant people, the 250 million, so I can become a voice that will go around this world lifting up the great work of the messenger and Master Farad Muhammad, so that the world will know that God is back in the midst of his sons and daughters on this planet, leading them back to Allah. Thank you so much.